Welcome to Swirl Radio. We're back with Ty, and I'm so excited about this conversation. I actually met her in LA for my first actual art show, and she completely curated and directed it, and I was just in awe at how many moving parts she had to move at the same time. I'm really excited, really excited. So I'm gonna just go ahead, pass the mic to Ty, and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Ty. That is my fake internet name. I have a very unusual first name, but I'm here from LA. As Aika mentioned, she participated in the Eddy Awards, which is an economic development award ceremony that was held at the Coliseum back in November. We had probably about 35 artists that we curated that day, and Aika was one of them. I didn't know that it was your first ever like art event though.
It was my first.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was definitely, it's a big deal for me. I was crying in the bathroom. I was like, oh my God, I made
oh, awesome. It was
it.
such a huge deal for me too. I have been an independent curator in Los Angeles for 10 years. And for the majority of that 10 years, it was a labor of love, as in I didn't get paid for it. I just love art and am involved in the artist community. And a couple opportunities popped up to where I can have spaces to show some art. So that's kind of where it came from. But the Coliseum was a huge deal for me. I had never curated anything to that magnitude. We had about 700 guests that night, and
Wow.
it was a fundraiser as well. We did wind up raising about $750,000, I think, for our nonprofit, which is the LA County Economic Development Corporation. This was the first time curating that I had ever gotten paid to do it, so that was kind of a huge thing. Yes, yes, yes. And I'm like,
Always good to get paid.
right? It wasn't something that I was trying to monetize necessarily up until pretty recently. It just kind of organically monetized itself. And so that was a really pivotal night for me. My inaugural curation was in downtown LA in 2014. I curated an event called The Last Days of Summer Nights, and we had music, food, art. We were supposed to have a skateboarding exhibition, but the dude flaked out. Another story. And that just grew from a friend of mine who was an R&B singer. Was like, hey, I want to put together this thing, and I know you're involved in art. Would you help me? And that was it. I didn't really have any like endeavors of trying to curate art or anything in LA. It just kind of fell into my lap. But my first ever job when I was 14 was for the Hollywood Arts Council. That's in that building. The building of my first job is in kind of a pretty famous like LA landmark on Sunset near Highland. It's the
Mm.
Crossroads of the World building. It's
Okay.
a small building with a tiny like earth on top spinning. It's kind of an older architecture, but I got to see as a teenager working with the Hollywood Arts Council, seeing just how like easy it was to collect a bunch of artists and put up, how to curate, I guess. So
Is that easy though? Like, I feel like that's a really strong skill. How did you do that?
well, something else about me is I'm a Capricorn. I'm a double Capricorn, actually. And so, like, logistics and organization and everything is just like so my wheelhouse. I wouldn't necessarily say it's easy, but if you're like organized and you know what I mean, if you're like a logistics person like me and you know artists and have a spot.
I was gonna say like what goes into curating an exhibit, and also like in your 10 years of experience, what have you learned? What are some of the traits of someone who is a great curator?
This is someone who, let's see, for me, I focus on having art of all types and all levels. So I always like to include kids' art. I
Mm.
always like to include everything from what I would consider to be like kids in school, like school age kids, to like street art to like fine art. So I just like to be inclusive in all levels of art so that people feel comfortable to make it like at any
Mm.
level. Well, for me in LA, it's kind of easy because I could drive down the freeway and see some of the best street art in the country. You know what I mean? So here it's a little bit different. Sometimes I've gone to other states and stuff, and there's like no street art at all, and I'm like, what? But here it's just so prevalent. So just having your eye on the street, basically. I like to focus on street art because that's also my background. A friend group of mine from junior high became one of the larger, well-known graffiti crews in Los Angeles. They're called JOR. So every time I drive anywhere in this town, I see like my high school and junior high friends graffiti all over, like everywhere. So I really love, I don't know, I guess I just really, really love street art. So just being in touch with what's happening on the street, I think is a cool thing, especially now because what used to be vandalism has escalated to actually fine art. And some of the same
Mm. Hmm.
artists who would be considered vandals, like Shepard Fairey or Obey, you know, he was a vandal just at one point, but now he's probably like a multi-millionaire or whatever with his company. And some of the graph artists that I grew up loving and seeing around LA, for them to do a wall, it's like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars now. So it's gone from vandalism to fine art in a lot of respects.
When you think about curating an event, are you usually trying to gather art that's centered around a specific theme?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes most of the time I would say I figure out what the theme is going to be. The one that Ica was involved with at the Coliseum, it was just more of a group showing of artists. So it's both.
Well, no, I'm really shocked that this was the first event that you got paid for, right?
Well,
That's,
this was my actual third event that I got paid for.
oh, okay. Okay.
But only because I was working with the same company, which is LAEDC, the nonprofit that I work for. It was super crazy that day, in particular, because I was curating all of these artists, and at the Coliseum, because it's funny because people think like, oh, let's just throw some art on the wall or something, and that's it. There's so much that goes into it, I promise you. The Coliseum, the tiles on the actual Coliseum are 100 years old and they're not replaceable. So we like
Mm.
literally couldn't put anything to touch those walls. And so I was doing that, but also doing my regular job, which I am the assistant to the C-suite at the nonprofit that I work for. And so I was doing my regular job, which was like hell of like logistics just for the day itself too. So I think if it seemed extra like a lot was going on, it's just because it really was a lot going on. But I'm glad to hear that you felt welcome because that's the other thing I like to do at any event that I produce in terms of art, like art openings or art closing, is that I want everybody to feel welcome. I'm not just curating like art on the wall, I'm curating a whole vibe. And part of that vibe is to make sure that every single person there feels comfortable and like that they have a space. So one of the things I always do is make sure to welcome everybody and like, you know, thank you for coming type of thing. And just, you know what I mean? Just to even no matter how busy you are, just to take that extra little minute and just check in with everybody and you know what I mean? Make sure that
Yeah.
everybody's straight. So
Well,
yeah.
talk to us a little bit more about that because both Aya and I are user experience designers. So we think a lot about, the experience of creating a product and what it is for a user to use a product. But your product is like in person, in real life, IRL. Tell us a little bit about like how you think about the experience, like from when a person walks in the door, what they see, how they interact with the art, or maybe how they interact with the artist and what that process is like.
Well, you know what? I usually just think like if I think it looks dope, then I think like everyone's gonna think it looks dope. It takes me a minute to arrange everything though to make sure that it looks dope. I like to do it with a group of people
Mhm.
because I like to hear everybody else's input. It's always way better that way
Right.
because, like for instance, we had another event. I work at the U.S. Bank Tower in downtown LA, and the 61st floor of the US Bank Tower is so sick, you guys. If you ever have the chance to be in LA to check this out, let me know because so I can arrange you guys a tour. But the 61st
Mm.
floor is an art installation, the entire floor. And so, like, some of the best street artists in the world, the muralists in the world, are like on this place. So, we held an event there and right at the end, after I had set everything up, I asked my boss, Kendall, who was a phenomenally brilliant woman. But I was like, hey, Kendall, you know, come and take a look and tell me what you think. And she made a few little key changes that were just like kicked it up so many notches. So people don't have to have experience or
Mhm.
know how to do this. You just have to know what you like and what looks good, and so that's kind of the process, is include other people
Hmm.
and take a hot minute to figure out how it looks dope together. I have 3 daughters, but actually 2 of them are graphic artists, but they're real good with color and stuff like that. So they've always been on board since day one with everything that I've done. And even as kids, they're like, no, this looks good together, or these looks, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of a group effort.
I love when I hear you say if it looks dope to you, it's going to look dope to other people. I love that confidence that you have in your taste.
Oh, thank
Um,
you. Thank
what
you.
are some of the key moments in your life that you think like were pivotal in forming your own personal taste?
Shit, definitely hip hop. I mean, they say Jay Dilla changed your life. Jay Dilla actually really did change my life, because hip hop, I was born in 75, so like that's the birth of hip hop right there. And just so much of my life is remembered by a lot of the stuff that was dropped coming out, like with Run DMC, and just hip hop in general has given me a lot of inspiration. And it's interesting to see how it ties in with street art. You know what I mean? Also, being here in LA, like I said, it's like I feel like LA might be one of the art capitals of the world. We have the best artists doing their thing here, just like on the freeway. Like, you know what I mean? You don't even have to go to a gallery. You just need to drive around LA and see some murals. You just need to go down the freeway and actually look onto the freeway and not be like, "Oh, this is vandalism." When you look at it as art, some of it's like really, really dope.
I
So,
just thought about the fires. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but like what popped into my head was like the fires. How much art was damaged or
yeah,
didn't survive, or what is LA looking like these days?
the art is still very vibrant. I mean, I don't think anything could take that away. And it's interesting to see how much art is a part of everyday life on so many levels. My boss, Stephen Chung, who is, greatly involved in creating equity for all Angelinos and everybody in the region, was explaining to us at one of the meetings that we showcased some art, how art is a part of every industry, from
Mm.
um, food to space to the blue economy. It's just a part of every single industry that you're in. And it really did help me to see how art can be part of commerce for people. And so one of the things that I've also always done in any of my 100% of my curations is, if any art is sold, 100% of the 100% of the proceeds go to the artist. So I don't like get a cut from the artist if they sell their art. And now I'm realizing that when I do it right, that I get paid anyway. I don't need a cut of the artist's money. So I think that one key factor has been a reason, one of the reasons why a lot of artists in LA have exhibited with me.
What is the payment structure like? Like, I know you probably have to pay for the space, and then you, as a curator, need to get paid. You said you've been working for free,
Mhm.
but like in other situations
Yeah,
beyond you, where are people taking a cut? Like, how do
yeah,
curators typically
yeah.
work with
Mostly,
artists?
mostly curators take a piece of whatever is sold. For me, I think the reason why I was able to make it work for myself is because um the gallery that I was curating out of was on the campus of UCLA, inside of a restaurant that my friend was a part owner of. So it didn't cost me or them anything extra to do this,
Yeah, for
and
the
they had the
space.
space and they wanted to increase their revenue. The last curations that I've done for LAEDC have been covered by the nonprofit as well as my rate. Now that I have, now it's a little bit more than a passion project. It's something that maybe I could monetize in the future if I want to,
Hmm. Yeah.
which is something I believe in. I do believe in doing business in a conscientious way. I believe in conscious capitalism. I think everybody can have a piece of the economy and thrive. There's absolutely no reason that it should be any other way. We don't need to, you know, I don't know, the way business is done today is it seems so heinous at times. We
Yeah.
don't need to take from someone or put someone down to make money or anything. None of that is sustainable, in my opinion. So doing it this way is the only thing that is sustainable. I am very blessed that I have excellent leadership right now,
Hmm.
in my role. So I shout out to LAEDC because the it's nice when you have leadership that you are in ethical mission alignment and everything. That's when like the magic happens, and some magic has been happening, which is why we were able to produce the Eddies and met Ica and many other talented people.
It is so rare that you hear someone give a shout out to their leadership or their bosses and
Yeah.
stuff, and so they must be doing something great.
They are, and they're fun too, which is funny. Like I've never met such funny executives. They're the most humble people. I know that they care about me beyond just the job, and that's kind of my litmus test.
Mm-hmm.
But just beyond that, they're funny, and we have fun underneath all of the mountains of work that we are buried under consistently.
And like having that vision and mission alignment and feeling like there's fun happening and you respect the people around you makes you able to do all those mountains of work. Like that's really what it comes
Absolutely,
down to.
Yeah.
absolutely, because there are
I
mountains of work.
I saw a meme, and I don't know if I agree with it, but I mean, I guess we can kind of talk about it. It said that, it was somewhere along the lines of like burnout is not real if you enjoy the work that you're doing. And I'm like, I don't know. If you work for a company and you don't believe in the mission, you're just there for a paycheck and they're doing things that are unethical, you're more likely to be burned out because you're doing things that you don't particularly believe in. I mean, obviously you can get burned out because you're just working too much, but a lot of the stress that maybe people feel is because they're in a job that they don't align with morally and ethically. And it
It-
sounds like maybe you may have been stressed or tired after a job, but like, have you ever felt burn out? What does that mean to you? Do you think you can be burned out from a job that you love, or are you just like tired? Is there a difference?
I think there is a distinction. I've been thinking about sustainability in the workplace for very many years, like over a decade, and what that looks like for me personally. Out the gate, what I would say to that, I mean, I have to reflect to really understand how I feel about it, but just right out the gate, I would probably say that burnout, I've seen people who are loving their work and all of that, and everything is gravy, be burnt out from it as well.
Right.
So I think, those people are my bosses. And
Mm,
so
hmm.
a lot of my conversation with them is surrounding how to incorporate self-care into the day as well, and not just to throw that out with the dishwater, which is, I
Right.
think, what happens.
Hmm.
Um, Before I was in this role, I was a social worker for about 15 years. And that caused me, like, I had to increase my self-care so much to even do that,
Hmm.
that I just found real value in that, and I still do. It's the only thing that, like, makes doing all this work sustainable for me is if I do it in a way that doesn't create an inordinate amount of stress in my life. And so if you don't do that though, like if you're just like mostly about your business, which I think is what, the grind prescribes most of the time, I think, in
Hmm.
minds, um, yeah, you could easily be burnt out.
It was interesting to hear you bring up being a social worker because that's actually where my mind went. My wife is a therapist, which
Mhm.
also means half of my friend group are therapists as well.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about getting burned out by work that you love.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
I understand the spirit of that quote. Like you like finding alignment in values and mission is energizing and it makes the work feel like it matters. But I will say it doesn't mean that you don't get stressed out. Like
Yeah.
you can definitely get stressed out and sometimes you might get more stressed out because you care so much that
Right.
you make your own needs and your own self-care subservient to your business or the work that you're doing.
Hmm.
And I think the folks that are doing that are the ones that really need the support. It's like people that are putting everything they can into driving the change that they want to see in the world.
Yeah.
They need support, and they can get burned out.
Well, I have a question. What types of art can help you de-stress and help with burnout? Like, are there certain things that maybe you would recommend?
You definitely need to check out Sheila Darcy's Sketch Poetic. Another thing that I love to do is dance. That's probably like my art form of choice. I love to dance. That helps. Lots of music therapy.
I'm fully on board with all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in my time as an executive, I spent time every single day painting or playing music or writing,
Oh, that's awesome.
and like I can't understate the impact that that had on me. Just
Hmm.
like having some place to put these feelings that are hard to define or
Hmm.
speak into existence, instead of
Mm.
just dancing or putting
Hmm.
some paint on a canvas. Uh, yeah, like that a creative practice is something that I recommend to most people that I work with.
Can you talk a little bit about where you are now and what you're looking for and who you're looking for and a little
Sure.
bit about what you called me about?
Yeah, well, I turned 50 in January. And so like
You do
all
not
of
look 50.
50
You did
where?
not turn 50.
When
yeah,
she said she had a 30-year-old daughter, I was like, what?
I
She
do.
have a 30-year-old daughter.
It's 30. But like as you can probably imagine, I don't know, like whole leading up to 50, like all of 49, the year 49 for me was about looking at those first 49 years and like seeing what I liked and didn't like and figuring out like recalibration so that like certain things are not coming with me into 50, like any disrespectful people, like me leading with fear, me having negative dialogue with myself, the way that I communicate with myself and others. Like there was some recalibration that was needed. And I feel like it took me a year of really not really being outside too much and just being at home and lots of internal introspection and taking time with myself so that I could change some of my behaviors that weren't necessarily in alignment with what I wanted for myself moving forward. So it was a year of thinking about, like what had happened and what I wanted to happen and how I was going to make that happen. You know what I mean? Just a lot. And I've been single for a long time. I'm ready to not be single. And that's what I was telling Ika because I feel like I need a good man in my life. I would like to have somebody to share some of the ups and downs with, I think, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. To share the art.
Share some of the art experiences, just the fun, the fun stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, someone who I can have a good conversation with. It's someone's brain and heart that I'm very much interested in.
And I know you're kind of interested also in maybe traveling and moving out.
Yes,
So
yes.
can you talk a little bit about that?
All these amazing opportunities for this curation has been popping up, and so I was like, well, I obviously need to just turn this into an LLC and just do this aim towards doing this full time and get, just working in the art space full time. Recent circumstances in the United States has really rekindled my love of Africa and my belief in repatriation. And so I
Mm.
definitely would want to be moving to Africa um, as my permanent home sometime in the future.
Oh, do you have a country in mind?
No, I'm actually just in the process of like figuring all of that out, and I need to
Hmm.
make some trips and stuff to see
Hmm.
where it would be. I definitely, being from Southern Cali, I need to be near a beach because I'm very attached to my beach life. I don't think I'll
Hmm.
give that up.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about things in a new way and see what really it is that I want to do. And then after talking to Aika, because you said you're like, don't forget on like your dreams, you know what I mean? And that really was kind of like a call to me that I accepted. And so it made me start thinking about what would I do once I actually got to Africa because I hadn't even gotten that far. So I'm
You
just
can curate art events in Africa. You can
that's
do traveling exhibits. Like there's lots of stuff.
that's what I was thinking because a lot of the artists that are here in LA probably would love to go there as well as people there would probably love to see some of the art from here. So I really am a big fan of letting things happen organically. Sometimes I feel like when I get in the way, like I fuck it up a little bit, you know what I mean? Where if I just let it flow, things flow pretty good. Um, Especially at setting intentions. I'm kind of big about like the way the energy works, and so I try to
Hmm.
set my intentions to manifest, what it is that I want, and write stuff down, and it's pretty interesting when I write stuff down. Like everything happens. It's wild. I just check it off. It's crazy. Um,
You
but
write, what do you write down?
I just
Just
write down the
for,
details of exactly what I want in a situation.
Well, I think it's the writing down that forces you to be very clear about it. Like when I sit and I write, sometimes I overthink because I'm like, I gotta be clear, I gotta make sure I know what I want. And I think maybe in your writing things down, you're really articulating and manifesting what you want. So it becomes very clear because now you've taken the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. It becomes real. I feel like the more I am the more detail oriented I am, the easier it
Hmm.
is for the universe to provide those things for me.
Yeah, because you're being really specific, and then you can go and chase whatever that goal is.
And it's funny because I feel like the universe always over delivers too. It's always like way more better than what I could have imagined.
As a fellow Los Angeles person, do you know Agape?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you might. Um, there's a lot of stuff that you're saying that aligns with things that I've heard there, but also I took a class earlier this year that Reverend Michael led, and one of the things he said in one of the opening classes was a lot of cultures consider you're that you're a child until you're 50 and then you're an adult, and so it's a huge time of transition, and it sounds like you're deep in that transition right now.
Very much so. I feel so different, better actually than I've ever have, which is interesting because I feel like the way people speak about aging, they're like they just diss it, and I'm more clear than I've ever been. I'm happier than I've ever been, and I own that. Like I'm not looking for anybody to make me happy. It's on me. And I actually like if I never would have like my childhood self would have never thought I would be in this space of gratefulness and happiness and owning it and just enjoying my life. My enjoying my life is first, and so I want to have fun. Like no non-fun niggas need to apply because so if that ain't you, I ain't the one because we're here in LA and it's a fun town.
Comes with the experience also, right? Like I hadn't heard what you said, Terrence, about, when you turn 50, you're becoming more of an adult. But I agree because it's like, you go through so much in your 20s, you're like insecure and comparing yourself to other people and you don't have a lot of money. And for me, I was like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I had a lot of student loan debt. And so, the older you get, the more you realize what's really important and what's not, such a big deal. The career and the money, all of those things are necessary to live, but those are not going to necessarily make you happy. And it sounds like you've had some of that realization.
I've been a parent for so long, and it's it's not even always easy for me to share space with my kids. And I don't know if that sounds horrible or not, but for me to share like living space with people, it's not that easy. So I just need time away from myself from I need time away from people, like time to myself often, so that I can reflect. It's just absolutely essential.
I think the whole transactional lifestyle that we live is a problem. And I think the way Ty approaches things, like she's been giving and creating. And I think sometimes it's important to realize that the best opportunities come out of like collaboration and creating happiness and like,
Yeah.
growing together rather than being like, oh, pay me for the, transactional stuff.
Appreciate that.
I have a couple of takeaways.
Yeah.
First, I think we got a name for the episode. No non-fun niggas need apply. Clutch.
Can't chop it
Second,
up with them. Can't chop it up with them.
Still paying.
uh, next,
Still
I'm
paying.
definitely going to take you up on that tour of the 61st floor of
Oh,
the
absolutely.
U.S. Bank
Anytime.
building.
Anytime.
Um, but then, like, it really stuck with me if the trusting your taste to say like if you think it looks dope, then it looks dope. And it's like, I think that building that trust in yourself based on your own personal experiences can be powerful for anyone in any type of industry. And I hope more people find that.
I like that also. That was going to be part of my takeaway was that, trust your gut. If you think it's dope, it's going to be dope. Get feedback, but trust your gut. Like, what's dope. Ride with that.
Right. Right. I love that. Um, For me, I'm just inspired by people like you guys who are holding space for people like me. I feel like I could have a much longer conversation with you guys about all things. I'm just inspired by you guys just as human beings. You know, I think a lot of shitty people get a lot of press, and it's nice to see non-shitty people get a little bit of the spotlight. So keep doing what you're doing, and I appreciate you for having me.
Last thing is you gave me an email. So what
I
do we
did.
want to tell people about this? Thai noodle at
Yes, I did.
gmail.com.
I did.
So what's
Well,
that for?
well, first of all, Thai noodle. There's a phenomenal place in Hollywood. It's called Pai Lin. It's a Thai food spot on Hollywood.
Mm, I love
It's the best Thai food you have ever had, and so I've been going there for a long time. So I like their noodles. So that's why I call myself Thai noodle. Only I kind of do have a lot of projects going on right now on the back burner. One with Sheila Darcy as well, so we can bring healing to the community, to the art community after the fires. Working on a couple of things in that space. But if you do want to contact me and go out on a date, that's who can hit me up at tinynoodle@gmail.com. And it could be literally anybody, but it just be in between 40 and 60.